the White House, a symbol of American democracy, is under tight security with just hours to go until voters choose their next president. Barricades are up all around the perimeter to ward off any possible violence around these tightly contested elections. Earlier, elsewhere in the city, businesses also boarding up their windows. Democratic candidate Kamala Harris will be spending election night here in the nation's capital. In the final hours of her campaign, she was in the crucial battleground state of Pennsylvania in a last push to win over undecided voters. It's been a whirlwind run for Harris, launching it in record time after U.S. President Joe Biden unexpectedly dropped out of the race in July. Now, she's been clear on her pledges. She says she will cut down on the cost of living and protect fundamental rights like reproductive freedoms and be the steady hand at the wheel steering the U.S. through this critical time. Earlier, I spoke to Zach Cooper, a national security expert who has worked at the Pentagon and the White House. He says the U.S. is facing unprecedented challenges.
When Biden took office, there was no war in Ukraine. There was no war going on in Gaza. And, although Taiwan tensions were high, they're probably higher now than they were then. This is just a much more severe threat environment than it was 4 years ago.
And does Harris have enough foreign policy experience to handle the presidency?
We just don't know exactly, what she might do because she hasn't had this chance before. But I do think it's important to remember that she's had time both in the Senate and now as vice president to get pretty familiar with a lot of foreign policy issues.
Harris has warned that her Republican rival, Donald Trump, is, quote, unstable and a wannabe dictator, calling him a threat to democracy. Now, as one of the tightest races in U.S. history draws to a close, Harris is calling on voters to put country over party when choosing who to send to the White House. Luffy Lee, Andrew Ryan, and Joyce Tseng in Washington, D.C. for TaiwanPlus.